Welcome to today's episode, and I'm so excited. We have Ray Higdon on the call, and we are going to be talking about network marketing, and he is going to give us the roadmap for making over $100,000 or whatever you want to make, and some of the top tips of how to recruit. So Ray, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you are a beast in the network marketing space, and I want you to talk about what you did and some of the top tips of how to recruit people into your downline.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's always important to know when you're listening to a trainer, like, okay, well, what did they do in the industry? And before I was ever a coach or a trainer, I had worked my way to the number one earner of a network marketing company, built a international, organization. Before I ever did any training or coaching. In fact, I didn't want to build a coaching and training business, but it just kind of happened because I started doing this. I started building on social media way back in 2009. And that was before really anyone was doing that on social media. I mean, now obviously everyone builds on social media, but people were so hungry for that information. Even though I was the number one earner, I had lots of companies that would hire me to go speak at their company event, which that's abnormal because usually companies are more scarcity mindset of, I don't want them to recruit my people, so they would not invite a number one earner, but they were so hungry for the information back then. And so as far as like when someone wants to know what does it take to become a top earner and be a top recruiter, it really comes down to four things, really. And, one is, it's universal across anything performance-based, and that is pipeline. Very simple, right? So, my wife's a realtor as well. And, if she doesn't, if she keeps her business cards in her desk drawer and she hides all her signs and she doesn't go to networking meetings and never talks to anybody, she's not confused that she's not making money, right? It's pretty straightforward, right? And so is in almost every kind of sales except network marketing. A lot of times people think that they should, like maybe through tenure or something, I don't know, that they should be making money even though they're not talking to anybody. So pipeline is how many people you're talking to, following up with, setting appointments with, asking the question if they're open to learning more, et cetera. So very straightforward. If a guy's on a car sales lot and he just doesn't talk to anyone, he doesn't make money. Very straightforward. So pipeline is one of the four keys. The next two are specific to network marketing, I find, and that is posture and position. So posture is really two things. Posture is the belief in what you have, regardless of external acceptance or approval. And this is when someone isn't so sure about the model, if they're not so sure about what they're doing, then they lack posture and they'll be easily pushed over. So someone once said that no matter how hard the wind blows, the mountain never bows. That's actually from Disney's Mulan. That was the emperor. I have little kids. But posture is no matter what, someone else thinks, if they, talk bad about, oh, that model will never work or whatever, the postured person says, all right, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm going to build it anyway. Posture is also the management of the conversation. How do you manage the energy of the conversation? So it's probably best for me to give an example there. I remember I was talking to a guy and he said, hey, I've tried a bunch of these network marketing companies and none of them ever worked. Well, the non-postured person would say, well, this one's different. It's got a great comp plan. It's right. They would do a razzle dazzle. They would try to, do a little dance for him to convince him that this one is different. That's not what a postured person does. So a postured person, and this is how I answered, I said, well, what makes this time any different? And so he just kind of thought about it for a second. He's like, well, I'm coachable and I want to make money. I'm like, okay. And see, now we can talk, right? If you're in power and you're in posture, then I'm not going to recruit you and we're just wasting our time here. And so when I said, hey, well, what makes this time any different? He's like, well, all of a sudden I regained the posture and that was fine. Later in the conversation, he said something, kind of funny if you think about it. And he said, tell me about the comp plan. And I said, well, I'm just curious, did you know the comp plan of those other companies? He said, I sure did. And I said, I guess it didn't matter. And isn't that the right answer, right? So a lot of people, they argue for their limitations and they don't even realize it. And the postured person can help them see that. And so the postured person knows what they're doing. So my postured questioning when I went to people that I knew was, hey, I'm going to do this thing with or without you. I'd love to do it with you. If you're open to it, great. If not, no big deal. That's the postured person. And another version of posture is the waiter or waitress. If the waiter or waitress comes over to you and says, hey, you want our homemade key lime pie? And you say no, they don't call you an idiot. They don't break down and cry. They don't go smash dishes in the back, right? They're just like, all right, here's your check, right? That's posture. You don't need them to agree with you. You don't need them to say yes to you. And just the containing of posture actually makes you a lot better recruiter. Second is position, which is so misunderstood in network marketing. Position is, where is the prospect? Where are they? Not where are you, where are they? And so position will allow you to navigate people through to the proper next step. And so if I don't know anything about someone, then they're at position 0. I have to see if they're open, not to joining, not to buying something, not to giving me money or their social or anything like that. I have to find out, are they just open to learning more? That's where they're at. And if they are, then I may send them to a video, right? I know you had a wonderful, 4-minute video about your realty company, right? And so I might send them to a video, right? And if they watch that video, now I know they're at the next position. And what's cool is I recruited hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that didn't like the company video. How? Because I used position. If I know your position, I know how to speak to you. So let me give you an example. So I asked someone, hey, are you open to learning more about what I do to make extra money? Sure. Hey, do you mind if I send you a video? Okay, here's a video. Hey, did you get a chance to watch that video? Yes, I did, and it sucked. Oh, okay. Well, Well, I guess my question is, what were you hoping to see? What were you hoping to see is me taking account their position. They watched the video. They were looking to see something. What were they looking to see? And I've never had them say something crazy. I've never had them say, like, I was hoping to grow my arm back, or I was hoping, whatever, like something crazy. They always say something we can actually help with. And that's how I've recruited people that didn't even like the video. So understanding position. I remember one time I was on with this HBO executive, and she was actually in my team already. And she introduced me to this Hollywood agent or something. I don't know. She had an agency, and my person screwed up. All right. So that's bad on me. Whatever. I didn't train her right, whatever. But she edifies the prospect. So she says, hey, Ray, we were on a 3-way call. She goes, hey, Ray, I got my friend Barbara on here, and Barbara runs one of the most impressive agencies in all of Hollywood, and all the celebrities know her, and she's been doing this for 25 years. And Barbara, here's Ray. Right. So I'm like, I'm just a little guy, little hands here. And Barbara, of course, steps into that posture. She was postured, and she goes, hello, Ray. I told Amy I'd look at her little home business. How are you today? Right. Well, I know something. I know that she agreed to this call, so that's the position she's at. So I used that. And I said, well, I guess I'm confused. If you're doing so well, why are we on this call? And that's when it got real. That's when she's like, well, I've lost some clients. Well, the business has changed. Okay, now we can speak eye to eye. Now we can talk. And so pipeline, posture, position. The fourth is perspective. Where do you spend the majority of your time in your mind? Everyone you ever meet is mentally rehearsing something. They're either mentally rehearsing their doom, they're mentally rehearsing their loss, they're mentally rehearsing frustration, confusion, overwhelm, desperation, not winning, or they're mentally rehearsing the life of their dreams. They're mentally rehearsing achievement of all their goals. They're mentally rehearsing them accepting that award. And so perspective, you have to be a real guardian of. You have to guard your perspective of where are you spending the majority of your time in your mind, because wherever you are, that's where you're going to continue to verify what you believe to be true, whether it's good or whether it's bad.
Mm. So I want to recap a little bit about what you said. So my business is in network marketing, so that makes it good. So if you were going to give us tips, you would say something like the tips would be, because our agents can make extra money, you would say, are you opening to learn more about how I make extra money in real estate without actually selling homes? And then say, like, would you be open to watching a video of how exactly that works on how I make that extra money? And then I would say, what do you think of that video? That would be kind of the scripts that I would say. Is there anything you would add to that? Did I kind of get some of those right?
Yeah. The only little tiny tweak is I never ask someone what they think, because, I don't want to cause them to overthink or anything like that. I always ask them, first, did you watch it? Right. We got to confirm that. And then I ask, what'd you like about it? Now, sometimes they didn't like it and they'll give you that feedback, but I always like to kind of nudge toward the, what did you like? And so I'll give you a fun example. I remember I followed up with this guy and I said, hey, did you get a chance to watch the video? So I was at question 1, right? And I said, did you get a chance to watch the video? And he goes, yes. And I have some questions and I have some concerns. And I said, okay, well, all right, great. What did you like about it? He joined. I never heard his questions or concerns. And people that aren't great at recruiting, they think that what they need to learn is how to answer questions. And that's not true. The best recruiters are usually answering questions before they're asked, or just leading people in a certain way where, like most of the times when someone asks me a question in that kind of process, me answering it isn't that powerful. Me making them question why they asked it is way more powerful. For example, the guy that said, tell me about the comp plan. And I said, did you know the other ones? He said, yes. I said, well, I guess it didn't matter. See, all of a sudden he realized, oh, me knowing the comp plan isn't actually that important because I knew it in the past and it didn't help me. Maybe I need to listen to this guy. And so, but yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Okay, then I would say the number one thing that I get is, no, I didn't have time to watch the video. Can you just explain to me? And I feel like the video in general, like for our business, does so much of a better job explaining it. So would you say, okay, would you get them on a Zoom call and say, well, let's watch it together now? Would you say, well, let's have a follow-up call after you watch it? What would you do right then?
Yeah. So that's a power play, right? That's someone that's saying, hey, I'm more important than your process. And I'm not going to, be rude to them or anything like that. But here's what I've found is the most effective way to handle it. And you're talking about your video that's 4 minutes. I was getting people to watch a 30-minute, right? So it's a little tougher, right? 4-minute, pretty easy. But if someone says, hey, I didn't have time to watch it, can you tell me about it? I would say, man, I would absolutely love to. You know what? I got a bunch of people that did watch it. I just got to follow up and prioritize them. Tell you what, I should be able to reach back out to you in the next week or so. Let me see. Let me check my calendar. I'll definitely let you know. 9 times out of 10, if I say that track right there, they'll say, well, it's only 4 minutes. I could probably watch it today. Oh, okay. Well, if you can watch it today, I should be able to get back to you by either 2:45 or 3:15. Which one of those do you think you'll have watched it by then? Mm-hmm. And so I don't allow them to take it. And there's a very important reason in network marketing that you get people to watch a video. And that's because the video is duplicatable. Most people cannot explain anything. They can't explain how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And so I don't want them to rely on their own skill or charisma or personality. I want them to lean on a video. I want them to lean on a system. And so I even had people, because I've built a brand, I would have people come to me and say, hey, Ray, I don't know what company you're in, but I want to join it. And I'd say, cool. I really appreciate that. That is so cool. Hey, listen, before you do, let's make sure it's a fit for you. Watch this video. So in sales, you don't typically turn money away, right? You're always like, yay, come on in, money. But in duplication, you don't want them to join in a non-duplicatable way, which no one's going to reach out to them and just join them because they're them, right? So I don't want them to think that that's how normal things happen, because it's not. I want them to watch the video and lean on, oh, people watch the video, then they join.
That's so good. So I want you to talk about social media because you do such an incredible job with
Mm.
social media. So I want you to share some of those tips that you give people with social media that you're like, it's got to be this, 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 and this. What would that be?
Yeah. And we just we actually sold this house, so we're moving, so things are in boxes and stuff. But we just updated our social media book, just updated it like a couple weeks ago. So there is a social media for network marketing book that we wrote. But the social media environment has really changed. I mean, from 2009, which is when I got serious about it, all the way to 3 years ago, it was pretty straightforward that live video was what crushed it. And I did a video a day every day for 12 years straight without missing a day. So obviously I believe in consistency, and I'm a little crazy about that. So consistency is absolute key, but live videos are no longer the top of the food chain. The top of the food chain are reels. And the reason specifically that reels are the top of the food chain is for the first time in marketing history. This is true. I've been a full-time marketer for 17 years. The first time in marketing history, you can reach people that do not know you for free. That's never been a possibility ever. Like if you want to reach someone that didn't know you, you had to pay ads. You had to get Google or Facebook, or you had to do some kind of ads, mailers or whatever, because the algorithm historically has only shown your stuff to people that know you, and never all of them, but just some of them. And depending on how well they perform, then I'll show it to some more. But TikTok came out with an algorithm, a few years ago that said, instead of, hey, who knows this person, who might like this content? And so all of a sudden we had non-influencer students that were getting millions of views, and we're like, what's going on here? Like, it was crazy. I'm like, you mean Sarah? Sarah got 20 million views? Like, what? Like, she's not an influencer. It didn't make sense. And so, about 3 years ago, we dove into, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and really, learn, what does that look like? And so a couple tips around this. So if you want to really crush it on social media, one of the very first things that I would suggest is doing 2 to 3 reels a day. And they can be short, right? They can be 20 seconds. They can be up to a minute. Like, they don't have to be long. And you don't have to talk about the thing you have for sale. And that's very difficult for people to kind of wrap their mind around, because they think if they sell, shampoo, they got to talk about shampoo in every reel. And that's not the deal. The deal is you should speak to the person you're trying to attract. So if I was building your real estate, your network marketing company, it'd be very straightforward for me. I would be always speaking to realtors, but not always just to sell my brokerage, right? I would do skits, right? And so here's an example. The other day, my wife scheduled to see this house, right? So she saw it was available. She booked it. It was in the morning. She booked it for 2 p.m., right? The agent calls her and says, you're given really short notice. Come look at this house. And I don't know why you think that we can get you into this. I was like, then why have the damn calendar open, right? But, oh, by the way, the owner said, yeah, no problem. Why? Why the drama? Why do we need this? Why does life have to be difficult, right? So that would be a skit. I would dress up like the one realtor, and I'd be like, and any realtor that ever sees that would crack up. They'd be like, oh my God, I've had this happen. I hate it when that happens. And so they're going to like it. They're going to share it with other realtors. And then as I build a following by doing, I wouldn't do all skits, but I would do some, right? As I build a following of inside jokes that realtors, get, all of a sudden I got this massive following of realtors. And then from time to time I say, hey, some of you, like me for my skits, you may or may not know, but I actually represent a real estate company. We can finally earn off the efforts of some of the agents that you're already helping. And if you'd like to learn more about that, just send me a message. So I would sneak those kind of, subtle, mentions amongst the different value. And so I would be teaching realtors how to get more listings. I would teach them what to say at an open house. I would just focus on, what are the top 50 questions that realtors ask and struggle with. I would have those videos done. They would be in reels, right? Then I would look at, okay, what kind of skits can I create? Then I would just sprinkle in messaging of, hey, reach out to me if you'd like to learn more about my brokerage, where you finally earn off the efforts of others, that sort of thing. But the top of the food chain in marketing, no question, is reels. I would be going heavy on those. And if I wanted to step it up a little bit more, then I would do, live video, take that content, put it over on YouTube. And that would kind of be the play for marketing. For prospecting, that's kind of, up to you, right? I mean, we have people that are top recruiters that do prospecting on social media. I prefer marketing and getting people to reach out to me, but doesn't mean that, before my marketing was working, I did plenty of prospecting too.
Awesome. And I know that you have shared this stage with thought leaders such as Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, and, a lot of leaders. I know Ed Milet has been really open about his walk with Christ, and it's been really encouraging to see that you have been really open about that. So would you just share kind of your journey about how you've kind of gotten to a closer walk with God?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So about 3 years ago, I realized something, and I realized that what I was doing wasn't fixing me, if that makes sense. So, 2019, I spoke on Grant Cardone's stage. He had me go on after Magic Johnson. It's like, thanks. I spoke on Russell Brunson's stage, so like, I think there was like 15,000 at Grant's, there were 5,000 at Russell's. And, and we crushed it. I mean, we, made millions and millions of dollars. It was, it was awesome, but I still knew something was missing and I didn't know what. And so I went on this journey about 3 years ago of, first it was different kinds of therapies and modalities and hypnosis. Then I did 2 years of 1 to 3 hours a day of deep meditation, tame the body, tame the mind. And I did get improvement, right? All of those things helped me in different ways, but there was still something missing. And 6 months ago, I keep a long story short, but 6 months ago, some people came into my life and really introduced me to Christ. And I get baptized in the Holy Spirit. The next day I wake up and I'm different. I'm looking at my hand. I mean, I did 2 years of meditation, so like I'm pretty in tune with my body. But all of a sudden, I'm looking at my hands. I'm looking at the flowers. I'm looking at the sunrise, and everything seems different. I'm just different, and so I get the nudge to just pray and just trust in God. And I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't know John 3:16, right? I'd heard of it, but I didn't know really, I kind of I think he died and stuff. Like, I didn't know anything. Didn't grow up in the church, didn't know any verses, nothing. And 6 months ago, I just got the nudge to, after that baptism, to get on my hands and knees and give my life over to Christ. And I did. And I was nudged to go live about my experiences, which I did. And that video went viral. And I had thousands of people reach out to me saying how much it helped them. And my life is completely different. All of those traits that I used to have and not know why, being suspicious of people, struggling with negativity, and usually I push past it, right? But all of those negative traits that I had my entire life got wiped out. I was healed. And so since then, I've just been so gratefully guided of I go to this event and they ask me to do the sermon. I go to this place and they ask me for different things. And so I just now feel more on purpose than anything ever in my life. There's a concept called sacred wounds. And sacred wounds are, what did you need most as a kid but didn't get? Whatever that is, and my list is long because I grew up in a very abusive home, right? So mine was safety, security, love, praise, recognition, attention, just name it. I did not get those things. So my whole life, I craved those things, but could never quite receive them. I could never quite receive friendship. And I tried a lot of things to heal those wounds. Nothing truly healed it until I came to Christ. So I'm just very grateful to sing his praises. I'm grateful to work through him and him work through me, I should say. And it's changed my life. It's given me a brand new purpose. It's healed me in so many different ways and changed me in so many different ways. I'm just super grateful.
That is awesome. Well, I want you to tell people about your offers that you have and how you have kind of helped people with these master classes really kind of make these checklists. Because I think what's really important, and just give us like a little tasting of it so they can see exactly what to do. Because I think what's great about yours is it's like, check the box that you've done this, and this.
Yeah.
And that's really what people need.
Yeah, and scripts, right? I know people love scripts, and so we have a lot of scripts on, if they say this, say this. If you reach out to someone you don't know, say this. If you reach out to someone you do know, say this. So probably
give us a tasting of that. Give us another tasting of that scripts before we move on.
Yeah. So not everyone. Well, especially influencers, right? And I don't teach just influencers. I teach people, I assume you have no influence, right? So the person with no influence, and maybe they even don't want to do videos, like, what is their chances of success? Well, they could actually have success. And I've taught people how to message and recruit people that they do not know through social media. And I've had influencers say, oh, that doesn't work. But, one of our students, Christina Danielle, she's the #1 recruiter in her company for the last 3 years or maybe 4 years. And she's done it 100% through our scripts, cold messaging people on social media. Now, I'm not saying that's my #1 favorite way. It's not. I'd rather attract people to me. However, if someone's not going to do the attraction marketing part, then why not equip them to go do that? And by the way, her company is a pet food company. She doesn't have a pet. She's the #1 recruiter of a company. She doesn't even use the product. And so anyone can do this. So if there's really two main categories, if you will, and that is, if you're reaching out to someone on social media that you do not know, there's a couple elements you need to use. Okay. First of all, get to the point. Don't beat around the bush. Don't give them 52 compliments about their hat or their breakfast souffle or whatever, tiptoeing through the tulips that people like to do. I've asked this in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. If someone is reaching out to you that you do not know on social media, do you prefer them A, beat around the bush and kind of give you compliments and butter you up, or B, get to the point? Every human on earth prefers people get to the point. So why do we think that we need to build rapport first to someone we don't know? Now, if you're at a cocktail party, that's a little different, right? You're there, they're there, strike up a conversation, right? But the social media is different. That's not a cocktail party. That's more like you're interrupting their dinner. It's more like you're calling them, on the phone or something like that. And so there's two main categories, and that's location and occupation. So how I recruited hundreds and hundreds of people I didn't know through social media by using one or two of these, okay? So first of all, you have to intercept their mind. They're wondering a couple things. #1, do I know you? Okay. #2, what do you want? #3, why me? Why are you reaching out to me? And so I'll use either location or occupation. So it'll look something like this. Hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're a realtor, and I actually help realtors make extra money, and I show them exactly how to do it. Is that something you'd be open to taking a look at? And if not, no big deal. Very simple. Now, if you send that to an existing network marketer, you're going to guess it's probably not going to work that well. Okay. That's a different script. I don't actually teach how to recruit other network marketers. I don't like it. I feel like it's kind of home wrecking, kind of thing. But if you send that to the average Joe, the average person, they're either going to say, well, tell me more, or they may say no, which is fine. Or I could use location. I could say, hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're in Dallas, Texas. I'm looking to expand my business in Dallas. Would you be open to take a look at what we're doing to make extra money? And if not, totally cool. Now just think about, is that going to make someone angry, right? You told them it's okay if they say no, right? No one gets angry by these scripts. And then from there, there's other steps that you can take, but those are, kind of the gist. Probably the easiest way to get, the scripts and kind of get our processes and for free is we have a 5-day prospecting power up, and that's at Higdon, it's my last name, higdongroup.com/5-day. higdongroup.com/5-day. And that takes you to our 5-day prospecting power up. Download it for free. You'll get some suggestions on where to find people, on what to say to them, and it just gets you more into that prospecting. And you can use the prospecting approaches for people that you do know as well. I would make some tweaks if you're close with them, but yeah, that should help people kind of get in that mode.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. Tell listeners where they can find you and follow you on social.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all the major ones. Most people, I think most people prefer Instagram nowadays. So it's just at Ray Higdon. I do a lot of goofy skits. I do a lot of videos. So you'll see things around faith. You'll see things around business, around my family, and so yeah, feel free at Ray Higdon. And if you're on this, feel free to tag me. Let me know you got value out of it, and definitely appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, you guys stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few.